Welcome to another episode of Irish from Three with Coach Ben Smith. I'm Jason Holcomb, joined as always with the coach. And today we've got a very special guest. He's multifaceted. His nickname forever will be with me, Barry White, whether he wants to accept it or not. I've been calling him that since like 10th grade. Is probably going to stay that way. And he tries to call me that too, but my voice ain't near as deep. But we got Dr. Jaroy Stuckey out here today. Doc, how you doing?
I'm doing well. How y'all doing?
All right, my brother. Good to have you on.
We appreciate it.
And I just want to say, Dr. Stuckey, I'm occasionally going to drift off and call you Jaroy because that's, I've been knowing you since you were a child, basically. But I still got this sneaking suspicion when you came into the world, like you're a low-key OG. Like that's how you were born. Like you were born, like I think you came into the world and they were worried because you weren't crying. And you're like, no, I'm good.
I appreciate that. I'm going to take that as a compliment.
Yeah, low-key OG. That's what we're going to call you. And I wanted to let y'all know that I did a little decorating. And if I move my big head, you can see, if you look up right in here, you'll see something special. That's actually a metal plate from the newspaper when y'all won state.
Right. I got one here too. I got one too.
I know. And after this episode, Ben's going to have one too. He just didn't know it yet.
I was about to say what happened to mine, bro.
Man, we had a couple of them. I gave one at the banquet to Coach T, and then I didn't realize I had a couple more. And so when I ran into Jaroy, I was like, hey, you got to have this. And then I found this other one. So guess who gets to get the other one?
I'll walk up and get it.
The kids will be like, Coach Ben at the house asking for some metal. What do you need metal for? All right. Well, Dr. Stuckey, it's such a pleasure to have you. We're always interacting, obviously, with you being the principal at Dublin High School and Coach Ben coaching the Irish. I know for y'all this has to be neat and strange at the same time, where you guys have been so used to being together, but now you're being together in such different roles. Dr. Stuckey, what's that been like for you to have somebody that, is a family, friend, and everything, and it also happens to be your boys' basketball coach?
It's been great. Just knowing his high caliber and his character, it leaves no words for me, as I know that he's going to do a great job of helping to mold the young men that he's in charge of. So it's been great. He did a great job in his first year as our basketball coach. I'm just excited about the future for Dublin High boys basketball.
And it's the same for me. Like I know you said weird. I get that a lot, but it's not really weird. It's like, he's Dr. Stuckey, he's earned to be where he at, and does a great job, in the school, but it's still just like, that's just who I know, so I'm always going to give him his respect. But at the end of the day, I just see him like he is. Anything I can help him with, I'm going to do my job and help the boys basketball team. But any other thing in the school is just like, if I saw him at the gas station or he needed a ride or something, it's just my boy. So it's not weird at all for me.
That's awesome. To me, I think it's great that we've got some of these family bonds carrying through generationally, because that's honestly, if you look back in Dublin's history, whether it be athletics, academics, one of the things that's always made Dublin strong is being able to carry on those traditions through generations. And you guys are two shining examples of excellence, not just on the court. Obviously, you guys played exceptional basketball in high school and college ranks, but you guys have come back, and probably the two greatest things that I'm proud of for both of you is not only have you succeeded professionally, but you're also family men. And I think that's a shining example for a lot of these young men that are coming through the high school today, and for our young women to see how a man should be, that you should be all about your children, that you should be all about your wife, that you should be all about your family. Talk about, do y'all ever realize that example, or that you are that example to any of these kids?
Yeah, I think that's the ultimate goal, is to try to be an example and a role model. And with Coach Smith and I in our roles, I think that's very important, just showing the way, because so many other people, when you think about even Ben's dad, Mr. Curtis, our middle school coaches, Paul Conyers, Brian Howell, they were the examples for us. So it's our turn now to be the examples for the next generation.
Just paying it back, That's all it is. It's like we were brought up in a strong knit community, you know, from basketball on the court, off the court. So now that's what we're doing. Now we were shown the way, and I mean, that's how it's supposed to be. We pass it to the next generation. Hopefully one day our players, our students, you know, they'll be in our positions doing it. You know, we make this a positive cycle.
I love that. That to me is what it's all about, is, you know, trying to pay it forward and trying to be that next thing, because the fact of the matter is, you're not going to coach forever. You're not going to principal forever. I'm not going to PR forever. Although if I keep having kids, I might have to go past that natural retirement. You know, I might have to be at 31, 32 years in there before I have to get out. You know, that I might need to get that teacher retirement built up strong before I can call it a day. But Dr. Stuckey, getting all the way back to basketball at its purest form for you, do you remember when you first started loving to play basketball?
Back in recreation, that's when it really started. And I was a little younger than being them, so I was it was funny. We were in the group behind them one year, then the next year we would always play in their league, and they were the guys, him and Chris, they were the guys to beat. And so I think that's when it started, and just that competitive nature really started kicking in then.
Now, there's
Coach.
Go ahead.
Now, Coach.
No, you go ahead.
Dr. Stuckey, he always been competitive. Like, that's what it's funny, because his off the court personality, he always laid back, you know, but on the court, he's like a different person. I wouldn't say he's like, you might not see it on his face as aggressive as me, but he's like extremely competitive, even from the younger age, because I went to Hillcrest and he went to Moore Street. So we were always kind of like, we knew each other, hear about each other, and when we would play with each other, it was never anything personal, but it was always like, all right, I'm going to show you I'm better than you, and he going to try to show me he's better than you. And then that made both of us better. Because it wasn't too many people, I mean, not to sound cocky, but when I was younger, that I would play and be like, all right, I got to play hard to beat him. But he was one of those people, like, all right, I've been a proof of point, because this guy, if I slip, he can beat me, or he think he can beat me anyway.
I think that's the thing, that Ben and I, we share that mutual respect, because we didn't even have to say it. We just knew when we stepped out there that, like I said, he's going to push me. And the thing about Ben, he's probably one of the most competitive people I know. I think he hates to lose more than he loves to win, if that makes sense to you. And so I think him being able to impart that in our guys today, because honestly, I think that's what the game is kind of missing. Even when you watch up in the NBA, everybody is so friendly, and I get being cordial and respectful of off the court, but I was raised, you got to try to be fair. So you see a lot of the people in the NBA nowadays dropping jerseys, taking pictures and all that. So I think kind of got watered down, but I think Ben is really helping to impart that competitive nature in our boys, and just let them know every day you got to bring it, because people are always gonna have a target, especially when you're wearing that Irish jersey.
That's 100% true. Ain't nothing to add about that to that.
Well, I don't ever understand, I don't know, whenever I played ball back in the day, you could be friends afterward all you wanted to be. But like during the game, I mean, I wanted to get somebody. Like, to me, it wasn't, and I didn't care who you were. I remember we used to play church basketball at Jefferson Street, and I would be murdering those kids. I mean, I'd be doing everything I could to try to, and I know that's probably not the best adjective to describe it, but like I wanted to win. And the team my church, like, we won the little church thing every year, because like our coach, Mr. Randy Clark, like, he didn't play. Like, you went to win. If you wanted to throw some dap afterward, that's fine. But during the game, I remember us in Jefferson Street Baptist, like, one Saturday morning, there was a sure enough fight on the floor. Like, Jared Jinks, who graduated with me, one of my guys kicked him where he shouldn't have during a scrap under the goal, and a sure enough fight broke out. Like, Johnny Payne's just scrambling, trying to break it up, and everything's going crazy. And like, we're like, what happened? And what's bad is Jared jumped on the wrong dude. Like, the dude who did the kicking, his name was Jeremy McClure. That joker was so fast, he kicked and got up out of there. And but like that's how intense it was. You know, afterward, you know, Dallas Christian and some of these other guys, we were fine and we were good, but during the game, it was all intense. How do you keep that same type of intensity in your new roles, knowing that, you know, you can't be hating somebody when you're a principal and you can't really hate somebody when you're a coach, but how do you keep that same type of intensity and be able to share it with the kids?
I think some of it has to be innate. I think it just has to be in you. And hopefully the kids, you know, the Last Dance documentary came out. Hopefully a lot of our guys watched it and really saw how Jordan was so competitive, you know, with the Pistons, with Magic. And if you watch that Dream Team, it got real serious out there. So hopefully them watching that. And even some of the new school guys. I love Russ Westbrook and Damian Lillard. You watch those two guys, they're going at it. I think Russ Westbrook, talent-wise, he might not be the best, but you're not going to find anyone who's as competitive as him in the NBA today. So hopefully the new guys, they'll be watching some of the guys in the NBA and picking up on that. So hopefully that'll help to put it in them and get them where they need to be competitive.
Yeah, and I got my big thing is with my team, I always tell them, like, you can feel my energy. Like, I don't have to, like, I say a lot of stuff, but this, how I say it to them, they can feel the intensity in it. And as far as it not being like, they just, it's about the times too. They're in a different culture, a different way. It's social media. So when Jaroy and I were in school, we didn't know the point guard from Truthland County, you know, or Washington. We're not having conversations on the internet and boys and friends. So it's nothing personal there. We're just going there. You're on the wrong jersey, we're gonna beat you. So with my
I love
team,
that, man.
That's how I try to tell them. Like, they sometimes they think I'm crazy. I'll be honest, because they're friends with these guys, and I tell them going into the game, like, I don't care. Like, if I see anything out there, you're gonna sit next to me, and like, and they were sometimes. But as the year goes, I mean, as it went, you know, they start picking more on this, and I can say for our team, I said this before, I don't know if we were as talented. We definitely weren't as talented as the years passed, but I think we were one of the tougher teams on our schedule. Like, when you played us, I heard that compliment from a number of coaches, like, man, it's tough against the player. Y'all boys grind it out. And that for us about the NBA, it's the same way. It's just you know, LeBron, he's great, but he's a lot different from Mike and Kobe and those guys for us, how he shows his competitive spirit. And I think it just kind of trickles down. Like Russell Westbrook and Damian Lillard, I love to see that matchup, like Dr. Stuckey said, but that's not far. That's far and few between who you see. Like if D-Wade play LeBron, you're going to see a lot of laughing and joking opposed to just going at it.
It's funny you mentioned LeBron and you talk about the intensity. You know, last week the NBA released the all-time team list for all the different teams, and there was a lot of debate about the Lakers and the fact that LeBron wasn't listed on that top 5, which I don't see why. I mean, he hasn't won a title. He hasn't won an MVP with them. He hasn't done anything except won some regular season games and got hurt last year. So, I mean, no offense to him, but, you know, when you're dealing with a legendary franchise, you got to bring it. And so I wanted to talk about our legendary franchise with that in mind. And I wanted to pose to both of y'all to name your all-time top 5 Dublin Irish.
Oh, man. Start off, and I don't know a lot of the old school guys, but definitely got to put Ben and Chris Wright on that list just for what they did as catalysts for that 2006 state championship team. And not only that, but just their production from freshman on up. That's 2. You said 5, Jason?
You want me to throw my 5 out there to kind of help y'all out a little bit?
Go ahead.
All right. My 5, I start with Jermaine Hall because I feel like he kind of set a foundation. And I know this is some recency bias for us because I'm sure there's some guys back in the 80s and back in the 70s, you know, and I think it was like in 65, our team made it to a state championship game and lost. And that was like the only time that we had made it that far up until y'all. So I start with Jermaine as because you got to have that big guy in the middle. Then I got Ben and Chris. as my other guys. And then I put Pulley, I put Cam Paldo on there because he's the all-time leading scorer. You kind of can't, not have him. And then I put Corey Payne just because when you start filling out, you're looking at guys that have played professional ball, guys that have, continually grown. They contributed a lot to Dublin basketball, but then they continue to grow afterward too. So that's my 5. And obviously it could be a whole list of other 5s, but that's mine.
I think I agree with you. I was going along those lines. And like you said, Jermaine Hall, I remember being a middle school student going to watch him play and what he did at Wagner. It's just phenomenal. Like you said, Cameron Paldo being an all-time leading scorer, and Corey Payne. I don't like to play Corey anymore because I used to beat him pretty good in high school, but you could start to see him really coming to his own once he went to Columbus State when he would come home. But I definitely agree with you. Those 5 guys there definitely made a mark for Dublin basketball and have done some great things.
And
what about you, Coach?
This list tough, man. It's just so many people and so many situations. Like I was definitely Chris, Jermaine, myself.
You notice I didn't mean to intentionally, but Keith Cooper deserves an honorable mention on that list. Keith Cooper could bring it back in the day, and there were several guys on that 98 team that won region that you could say could be somewhere in that conversation.
Yeah. I like Jaroy over Keith, honestly, though. But I remember Keith. But I would say it's just different because I'm going to compare. Like, if I say Corey or Cam, like, they had different situations than my cousin Rashard. Like, so if you put him in that situation where playing under a system like he played, I think he would have scored just like they did. But I'd probably go with Corey and probably Cam in that spot too, or either Rico White. I don't know if you remember.
Oh, yeah,
Rico
yeah.
White? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So that's what I'm saying. It's going to be recency bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I was trying to think of a girls list too, and I had to start with Miss Charlene James, number 1, because I remember when I was in high school, she was still balling at Stubbs Gym, and she was balling with the men and scrapping and clawing, and she wasn't scared. And then one of my other favorites was Mignon Lindsay. I don't know if y'all remember Mignon, but she graduated with me, and that girl could play some basketball. But, then you got Lacey. Lacey obviously be one of them girls that's on that list too, and Nicole Newton, another baller.
Krista Martin.
Yeah, I mean, that's just it. We honestly, in the late 70s, early 80s, I think our girls had some like solid runs. So, it's one of those conversations that you have because COVID's out and you need something to talk about. So you say, let's make a list. So we made a list. Go ahead, Coach.
No, I was just saying, like, I was just thinking about it. It's just too much, like, the list, because I'm like you say, it's recent bias. You can go back. I'm sure, like, if some guys looking at this from the 80s, 90s, they're like, oh, nah, he way better than him. Like my Uncle Fat, I heard he was really good. I know what my dad gonna say. My daddy always say everybody from then is better than that. So, that's he might give me and Chris the nod. Other than that, he gonna scrap the whole list.
Well, who we need to ask is Cousin Andy Wright. Cousin Andy Wright will be telling us something. He'd be, plus he'd be claiming all the credit for y'all winning, saying that he coached y'all back in the day and that's the reason y'all won. And
yeah, he was Dr. Stuckey.
Y'all know Coach Andy Wright. Yep. Talk about that high voice.
And I remember one time we was beating him in like maybe 15 points. And Andy got mad. He made him hold the ball. It's like the third quarter. He was mad at the refs. But Jaroy is Andy's favorite player, like all time ever. When he got Jaroy, like we cousins, he turned on me. Jaroy gonna kill you, man. He gonna kill you. He gonna kill you.
Hey, that's good though. That means all your air conditioners are gonna work at the high school all the time. That's what's gonna mean. There you go.
I had to call him out to my house not too long ago. So whenever I call, he's a good guy.
For sure.
Then you want to tell you a story in that squeaky voice. I love me some Andy Wright. Well, talk about when we talk about joking and all. Do y'all have nicknames for each other?
Like my being, he, smooth, and I think his game definitely encompasses that. In high school, we would have some different things, but not too much that I know of.
Nah, not really. Not really. See, we've been together so long. Of course, we got stuff we say to each other,
Oh, yeah.
Jaroy once had a rapping career. That's between us. So it's a lot of stuff we kid and joke about.
We gonna have to find all those bars you were spitting back in the day. We're gonna have to find those. What?
One thing I want to get into, I said this when I was talking to Chris about Jaroy last year ended up averaging maybe 15 points. He was our third scorer or whatever. But one of the big points of the year was him getting into the starting lineup. And I remember one of the games we lost, he was frustrated, but that frustration never spilled into pouting. He kind of worked in. I didn't say wait his turn because he earned his spot for sure. But once he got in that, we took off to a whole nother level. So I just wanted you to kind of just speak on not getting where you got so frustrated, now I'm not even gonna play, I'm a pout, and then just kind of bursting onto the scene. And like I said, key people always talk about Chris and I, but we had somebody, our third scorer who averaged 15, had 17 points in the state championship and 3 threes in the first quarter to set the tone. So we don't win without him. So I just wanted you to kind of talk about that.
Yeah, I think that's very important, especially for the generation today. If you look at a lot of kids in college, they're quick to leave after 1 year. I'm not getting the playing time I need. I'm not. Coach is not meeting my needs. So a lot of people don't want to just grind it out and show up every day and come to work. And I realized in that particular game, I was going to have to come, tie my shoes up the next day and just really show Coach Thomas that I could play and that I deserve to be out there. So I just think it's just a testament for any kid that's out there today. Just keep grinding, don't give up. It's easy to go and leave as opposed to just staying and working hard and earning your spot.
Exactly. Because these kids show the league now, boy, whether it be high school, college, they get a part of them.
Yeah.
Dr. Stuckey, talk about how did that experience affect you moving forward? I mean, because obviously, I don't know that you had considered education as a career path or coaching. I don't know what your plans had been prior to, but, having gone through the success and the transition from a bench and a role player into a starting contributing player and then going to college on a basketball scholarship and so on, how did that moment affect you long term?
I think it stayed with me. And Ben can probably tell you this. A lot of guys who start off in college don't end up be on the basketball team or just in general. So I saw a lot of kids come and go. I just realized I had to continue to do what I had to do, not only on the basketball court, but in order to get the degree, just stick with it. So and even to this day, you run into tough times, but you realize that tough times don't last, but tough people do. So I think learning that at an early age in high school helped propel me into just have that mindset throughout.
No, for sure. And I'm not just saying this because he on the show, I tell our players, and really before I even start coaching, a lot of people, because I went to college and I started playing professional basketball, and that's the cool story, I should say, But I always used to be I want to say, what's the word I'm looking for? Admire, the route Jaroy went. You went to school and then he went immediately into what he was going to do next. It wasn't too much wavering. He had a plan and you stuck to it. So that's I used my 4 years of college to go play some basketball because that's really what I wanted to do. And then he used his to start getting the qualifications he needed, start teaching, build it up, coach, and now you had a principal. So now we both 32, and he's right where, I don't know if you don't want to be the principal, but he took the path where he wanted to be. So that's especially me knowing him personally, that's dope to me. Like, I saw him, you had a plan, you stuck to it, and I'm sure that plan just in one straight line like it seemed. Sure, it was a lot of messing up, going back, like, I don't know if I want to do this, but you end up where you're going to be. And it's the same way in basketball. It's going to be injuries. It's going to be, for myself, not getting jobs I want, I thought I should get over other people, but you have to stay the course. And then, like you said, tough times don't last, tough people do. And it's all the same. It's the same lessons, whether it's on the court or off the court. It's the same mental toughness that's going to make you successful.
Now, I'm going to tell you a story that still sticks with me to this day. And it was either 2008 or 2009. And it was Rutland High School. And it had been sprinkling rain. And I didn't know how to get to Rutland. I was all up and down on Hartley Bridge Road and on I-75. And I finally got there. And that morning, that Saturday morning, you're supposed to be taking the TAP test. And for people who don't know, that's the teaching test to get your teaching certification. And I get out the car, Megan drops me off, kids go somewhere, and I look, and who do I see but Dr. Jaroy Stuckey and Larry Foreman just standing right there, all fitting to go in to go take a test. And I said, oh, I didn't know you wanted to be a teacher. He said, yeah, I think so. We talked for a few more minutes, and then we had to go in our different directions because I was taking one part of it and he was taking a different part of it. And I remember when I finally got settled and was getting ready to transition over to school PR to realize the role that he had made, and now to see him where he is now, it just impresses me because, again, on that rainy day, there were a lot of people taking that test. Some passed it, some didn't pass it. Some people quit worrying with it. He kept on going, and he's got a PhD out of it. So that I'm like you, Ben. I've seen those steps of the journey. I saw that rainy Saturday morning where a lot of people would have been asleep or watching TV, eating eggs, and he was in Macon at 7 a.m. to take a test.
Yeah, no doubt.
I appreciate it.
Now, Doc,
I'll say.
Go ahead.
I think you mentioned that early morning. A lot of people don't know Coach Smith being a jug of work like none other. I remember after Coastal, I was supposed to go to Brew Parker before some coaching changes. So I go to Oconee thinking I'm going to work out, get there maybe about 8 o'clock. He had already been in the gym probably for hours at the time, drenching in sweat. And then I get ready to leave, maybe 10:30. Another guy comes in and they get ready for another workout. So like he said, these different principles that we're talking about, you can apply them in any aspect of life. But and even to this day, Coach Smith, he gonna always put forth the work. And a lot of people don't realize what you do when that gym is closed and nobody's in the stands is gonna show once those bright lights come on. So you just have to put the work in, no matter what avenue you're trying to go in life.
I call it quiet work, Jason. My team, they just said they don't really grasp it, but that's what it is. It's quiet when you're just like a test. If you're studying, it's usually quiet. If you're in the gym when nobody watch, that's the quiet hours. And then when you plan, okay, now it's loud. But the quiet work is when you get the loud results. Without the quiet work, won't be in the loud results.
I love that. You know, I remember between my junior and senior years when I was living at Stubbs Gym, and Lee McLeod was getting tired of me because I keep asking him because he wouldn't open it any earlier than noon. And I said, man, if you'll open it at 10, I promise I'll be there. And I would play from noon until about 8, 9 o'clock. Like sometimes I wouldn't eat lunch or supper. Like sometimes it'd be 11 o'clock for I ate supper. And my favorite time in that gym was from 12 till about 1:30. Because normally I'd get there and all the little kids would still be eating lunch somewhere. So it would just be me and my basketball, and I'd be working on my different things, whether it's my drop step, whether it's, hitting my jumpers, whether it's free throws, whether it's trying to dunk, which before I got fat like Willie, I could. The kids the other day were like, Daddy, you could still dunk? I'm like, no, Daddy be blowing an Achilles. I'd be pulling a Kobe. I'd be falling down, grabbing my leg.
It ain't worth it, man. It's not worth it right now.
I've seen you in the faculty versus students game, Jason. You still got some skills, man.
Man, it's some skills that need some work or some WD-40 or something.
That's everybody.
Something.
Once you sit out a while, it take a minute, but you probably, if you did it consistently, you probably, get
they hate it. They hate it when they'll get out there in the yard and start playing, and they'll every once in a while they'll be like, Daddy, come on. And for that first 15, 20 minutes, like my shot's not locked in. That muscle memory's got to get back. But normally at that half hour mark, like they'll be playing and thinking they're doing something, and I'll just be Charles Barkley in them. I'll be physical on them and, pushing them around so they can't get what they need. And that's one thing the kids need to learn. When you don't have one part of your game, use the other parts of your game. Don't let the fact that your shot ain't falling, like when Jordan wouldn't be playing right, or like Pippen in that championship game when they won that last title, his back was messed up. So he had to go be something else for the team right there. He couldn't be the same guy. And so sometimes you can't be the guy. Sometimes you got to defer, but by being a decoy, you can still help the team win. But man, after that half hour, that's normally when that elbow will get locked and everything will get straight. And then I'm just switching them. And then it's game over, game blouses to pull out from the show. And sometimes I'll cook them pancakes. You just don't ever know. Now, Dr. Stuckey, we talked a little bit about this, but I wanted to make sure that we hit on this some too. Has it really sunk in over this first year? And I know we're dealing with some strange circumstances, which is part of the reason that we're interviewing right now like we are. But has it, or when did it sink in that I'm the principal of Dublin High School? I'm the equivalent of Dr. Nesbitt back whenever I was in school. Like think about that for a second and tell me what's gone through your mind over this last year.
I don't know if it's really sunk in now. I just try to show up each and every day, and being that I had a lot of these kids in middle school, it's kind of the same, just on a bigger platform. But I tell you, this year, it's certainly it's been quite a year with our football team doing a great job and winning, and then boys basketball program making Sweet 16 and just having a great run. And then, like you said, with this whole coronavirus situation, it's been a blur. So I don't think I've really, now during this time here, I've had some time to reflect and really put it in perspective. But I tell you, you get so busy during the year, it all seems to run together.
And that's one time I think it's funny to me. Like if a kid comes to my class and Dr. Stuckey just get through talking to him and they say something like, like he just got on them. It's like I don't say, but to my head, that's funny. Like, just because, he did, but it's just like, because we're the adults, and it's correct. I know he did everything right, but it still just seemed like, yeah, that's, all right, Jaroy getting on somebody. Like, I'm like, my mama had those moments. She heard me talking the other day. She was like, you sounded really grown. And like, we've been grown.
What you expect?
Yeah. So even like I know he does a great job, I see him as where I give him all the respect, but it's still a moment sometimes like, all right, that's that same 12-year-old I was knowing, so it's funny to me.
Oh, that's true with both of y'all. Like I remember during the region tournament this year, I was back behind the bench during a timeout, and I saw that intensity that y'all were talking about. And I think the kids were seeing it too, because they just like were not being able to lock in mentally. Like there was something that just wasn't. And it's, nothing on them because it happens. They're kids. I try to always keep that in mind even whenever I'm coaching. It's like they are children. These things that are obvious to us, even when you're talking about behavior not on the court, just in general. Like I always tell people, be conscious that you were young once too, and it doesn't excuse some of the activities that kids may get into. But you should be able to show some empathy and say, okay, well, let me teach somebody something here that maybe nobody taught me or I didn't learn till later. And I saw Ben in that moment. You could see that it's like, y'all, this is so obvious. Like, why are you not seeing? Like, I could see it in his eyes. His eyes were just fire. And I was sitting there going like, ooh. The good thing they ain't got practice tomorrow. I know what'll be happening.
Yeah, that's one of those moments where you wish you could play. I know exactly what moment you're talking about, but it's just one of those things too, like the team we were playing, but we're playing Washington County. They were, they had won 2 out of 3 out of 4. So all those guys in high school, they had been in the championship game every year. So they understood the intensity that the game took to bring our guys to no fault of their own. As much as I told them and tell them, they still brought the same intensity at the beginning as if it was a regular season game. So we kind of got hit on our heads. But yeah, in that time I was definitely trying to let them feel like we have to get to this level or this going to get bad. And they did
You always have
respond,
to learn
whether
and
too late.
grow.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They did learn from it. I mean, I
Yeah.
watched when they made that run and we got it close, and had it not been, not to sound jaded, but for some questionable officiating situations, you know, I mean, it is what it is. The thing I always try to tell kids whenever I'm coaching and there's a bad officiating thing, I said, first off, let me deal with it. You don't ever deal with it. Second of all, play so hard and so well that it doesn't matter if they make a bad call. That's always been my thing. Whenever I was coaching soccer with kids, I'd say, they'd be like, Coach Jason, that was wrong. I said, it was, but we should play well enough that it doesn't matter. Like, we should play so good that those bad calls don't affect us one bit. And those great teams like y'all, you know, there were plenty of bad calls during that season because everybody knew that you were the top dogs. And, you know, some people, whether they mean it or not, don't want you to be the top dog, and including sometimes in the officials. They're not, you know, not everybody's professional. And so they might call a foul on Chris. I remember several times where Chris was getting frustrated because there were ticky-tack fouls getting called and getting him, you know, he'd have his third foul sometimes in the first half. And so Coach T's having to rotate people to keep him fresh and keep his fouls down for the second half. But y'all proved that you just had to be better than that.
Yeah. We had a really good team. Money business, money is, I mean, you know, I get too much to say about that. That's true though. I mean, everything you said is 100% correct. We didn't play many games within 10 points of other teams, probably. Besides the 2 we lost, we played a 7-point game with Buford that we won. Other than that, we probably didn't have any victories under 10 points, which goes back to your point.
Dr. Stuckey, talk about, you know, what are the things that you're trying to impart into kids? I mean, obviously you've taught just at every level at Dublin City Schools. I think you've been at Hillcrest, you've been at Dublin Middle School, you've been at the Career Academy, you're now at the high school. What's been the one thing that you're constantly trying to impress upon the kids that will hopefully inspire them to maybe a similar level of success that you've enjoyed?
You have to have a plan for everything. And even within that plan, just realizing if something detours, still having that overall destination in mind and not to put all your eggs in one basket. And so many kids today really just don't have a plan. So just trying to impart that to them of how you're going to be strategic in terms of getting where you want to go. If you do plan to pursue some things athletically, keeping in mind what you need to know, and just having a desired goal in mind, just not going out on a whim, just realizing that you have to put the pieces to the puzzle in order to make it complete.
Go ahead, Jason.
Coach Ben, you got anything you wanted to add to it? He sounded like he hit it pretty hard.
Yeah, that's 10 out of 10 there. Nothing to add to that.
I know y'all are trying to do more than just, you know, hopefully have the kids playing basketball and, you know, hopefully having the kids, you know, scoring on a test. You know, to everything that I've seen from you guys, you know, in your roles, you're trying to recreate greatness. You're trying to inspire kids to be more than themselves, be more than their circumstances. And that's something that really I admire because, you know, my thing and my job, you know, it's easy for me to take pictures and it's easy for me to put stuff on Facebook and do these interviews, but I'm the same way. Like for me, I want to see every one of our students reach their full potential. And that full potential may be college athletics, that it may be working at a factory, providing for your family. It may be a stay-at-home mom that's just being that homemaker. You know, whatever that happens to be, you know, I want you to be the best you can be. And I imagine that y'all are the same way, that, you know, yeah, you're coaching basketball and yeah, you're trying to inspire these kids to do well, you know, so those graduation rates stay high, which, by the way, your graduation rate is off the chain. Heads up to that. But what will y'all tell these young people outside of just having a plan and a destination? What are the things that you're doing on a day-to-day basis to try to reinforce to those kids that they can be great?
Personally, you know, I talk, and I'm not just talking about my players, like even the kids in my class, I talk to them about all type of stuff, especially being in the gym because we have different activities. There's a lot, it's a little more leisure than being in the classroom. So sometimes I have young ladies just talk to me about life, and I just give them the same type of principles and lessons I give my players. Like, you have to have a plan, you have to have something that you stand for. You have to know how you want to be treated, whether that's by your friends or in your little relationships. You have to have the respect for yourself, and if you feel disrespected in any type of way, you should leave that situation. I mean, just get them towards life. Same thing like Dr. Stuckey said, give them alternative, because when you're young, you're so one track a lot of times. So I give them what they say, kind of playing devil's advocate. Well, what if it don't go this way? So trying to get them to just think differently and open up their minds, for they got different resources. And that's something I'm big on too. Like, I always tell my players, my seniors this year, and I seen a couple of kids at Walmart who in my class, like, if you can ask me about anything. I mean, I'm 30, well, not anything, but a lot of stuff that you want to know about. I have experience in, or I know somebody who does, so I can get you an answer. Don't feel like you need to bottle this stuff up. So I just try to make it always with that teacher-student relationship, so it's respect. But at the same time, I want them to be able to feel like if they can trust me enough, I can tell them something. They can tell me something. I can lead them in the right direction.
And I think that's the benefit from being fairly young. We're still able to relate, and we know some of the lingo. Sometimes the kids, they think they're able to get over on some teachers by speaking in their little codes, but being in the cafeteria, we'll pick up on and we'll call them out. So just being able to relate to them and put it in perspective, no matter the situation. And I will say, Coach Smith, he did a great job, not only coaching wise, but I was very impressed with him this year in the gym, just teaching his classes. Coach Collins said he just saw maturation and was being a master teacher. Like you said, with young ladies who normally wouldn't want to be playing kickball or things of that nature, he was just able to get them engaged, and to see some young ladies out there participating. I think it just speaks to his ability to connect with our students and just really show them that he's passionate about them. So we just try to connect with them and engage with them and show them if we can do it, there's no reason why you can't do it.
I love that. And you talk about connecting. I got to connect too with y'all, connecting to the next generation, because y'all are getting it done. I just want you to know, like, let me see if I can pull it up. Come on, screen mirror. Why you want to be this way? There we go. Now y'all are carrying on the tradition even more. And I just want to tell you,
I think
like,
I said how to y'all. We got to do 2-2. Me and AJ against Ben.
We ready.
Well, I love y'all have shared some stuff with me, and some of sometimes you'll post something on Facebook. First off, y'all got two of the most attractive young men that I've seen in a long time. Like, y'all's wives are going to have some challenges when these young men get strong and older, like, because them girls are going to be all about these boys. But what I love seeing is not just watching them shooting that ball or dribbling. I love seeing y'all engage with them. Like, in today's world, it's real easy for a lot of parents to sit there and take that tablet and throw it in front of them and say, here you go. But, y'all are out here being fathers. And I know this is a product of some of your own experiences growing up. You typically emulate what you know. And, I know y'all come from good people that are going to sit there and spend time. What do you want to tell all these young fathers and all these potential young fathers about how important it is to be doing these things, not just so that they'll be ballers one day and go to college and do all this other, but talk about being a dad in today's world.
Go ahead, Stuck.
It's great, man. It's life-changing, and just realizing that, if you don't impart knowledge in them, they're going to get knowledge from somewhere, whether that be good or bad. So I think it's very important. We talked about earlier, continuing that cycle of creating great young men. So I think it starts at home, and it starts at an early age, because a lot of kids now are getting involved in gangs and things of that nature. So we just want to be able to try to try to show them that we care about them and we love them. And I consider all the 500 plus kids at Dublin High School. Sometimes they look at me crazy when I say it, but while they're in that building, I'm their daddy then. So I think it's just, I don't mean that in any derogatory manner, but I just have that love for them like I do my own son. I just want them to be safe and just knowing that somebody cares about them.
Yeah, they're the same, man. Being a father is the best thing in the world. Like, for me, it slows you down, you know, and it's just, and then my son, he looks so much like his mama. So it's like I'm looking at a smaller person, you know, somebody I already been loving, and now they're in a smaller version. So he follows me around, you know, so he wants to be, you know, he wants to be like me pretty much. So it's just, and it's fun for me to go out there and play with him and interact and laugh and joke. And just hit on the point that Jaroy just made. I feel the same way about the kids. Like, for my team, like sometimes one thing I'm really, really, really competitive. So sometimes I get so mad, it makes me not want to talk, even to my players. So that was one challenge. So then I come back and I see Ray. I was like, okay, I have a son. These are people's children. And so I don't want a coach to be frustrated and not talk to my son because he doesn't understand, you know. So with that, so I treat them the same way I would want somebody to treat Ray. I would want him to feel, whoever coaches him, feel protected and safe, somebody he can trust and in the best interest. So I try to do that for all my players, for all my students especially, but I just say my players because I'm around them the most. But I want them to feel the same way. And that comes directly from being my father and then directly from being a father of Ray.
We're not going to catch you, Jason. We're not going to catch you.
Yeah, nah.
Hey, y'all are young men now. Whenever I was 32, I only had 2 children. You know, that's what's crazy. In 7 years' time, man, it can happen that I had 6 kids in 7 years. Let's not do that math too hard. Don't think about it too much.
You got it,
well,
my brother.
I'm gonna tell y'all, like I get so excited every week when Ben tells me which guests we're gonna have on, and I really enjoyed having you on here, Dr. Stuckey, because you know, watching y'all grow up and turn into successful men, like you're not young men anymore. I still want to think of you as young men, but you're men, like you're full grown. And to see y'all thriving and to see y'all inspiring other young people to do greatness, like that to me, whenever I worked at the paper covering y'all, that was my goal. You know, the reason we did all this crazy coverage on that sports page is because I wanted you to know that somebody cared about you and somebody was appreciated all that you were doing. And hopefully it inspired you to want to be great, you know? I mean, and again, that's the same thing I do now with my little PR stuff. I want these kids to know you're loved, you're appreciated, and your excellence, I'm going to celebrate it like nobody's business. Because I want you to go show people that Dublin and Dublin City Schools is it. You know, that's like, we are the real deal. And we are wanting greatness.
I appreciate you, Jason. I think I told you a few weeks ago, man, you're doing a great job. And it seems like even being that we've been out for school now, you're even working even harder, seems like. So I definitely appreciate all you do for Dublin High, Dublin City, and for our boys basketball program.
Yeah, likewise, man. Even when we were going back in school, I remember we would play. Of course, we were winning all the time, so we trying to go to the gas station and see who's gonna be in the paper the next day with the picture from the home game. So we definitely, you know, that's been love back from those days up until now. So you definitely appreciate it, and your goals definitely accomplished because we felt love for sure.
Well, the reason I'm working more is because my computer is probably about 8 feet from my bed. So like if I have to get up in the night with the baby and I'm up, like when I get to doing this thing, it'll be on. But it's all about showing love and celebrating Dublin. I think that's something all 3 of us can say that we appreciate. We love us in Dublin, and we're going to keep loving Dublin and hopefully challenge these kids. We want to thank Dr. Stuckey for joining us today, and we want to hope that y'all continue to tune in to Irish from 3 with Coach Ben Smith. Look at him.